And esteemed delegates, people who could understand Kannada, there was a very nice coverage of this particular event yesterday. I had shared with some of my colleagues. I think it is almost about 3.5 minutes in the Kannada news channel. Thanks to the organizing secretary, he has made an excellent attempt to capture almost what was the whole day's event. So congratulations. I was just going through some of the recommendations from this whole symposium. The GI-based recognition for the products, I think that is one thing which is extremely important, which I have been talking about in other forum as well, that once you have this registration, then the next step would be that you can have the GI tag, which recently we have given one to the Ladakh Chief Executive Councillor for the Ladakhi Chirpi, and Dr. Mishra was also talking about the buffalo, the bunny buffalo, or Chilka buffalo of Bhubaneswar. So that is also one. So I had repeated this couple of times, and I think I'll repeat this again, that Dr. Sri Krishna Isla also knows, there's a particular variety of brinjal which always they talking about. Like ultimately people will ask, what will happen? Okay, you characterize, you register, you do the gadget notification, how is it going to affect or help the ordinary farmer? There's a variety of brinjal. I think people who come from Udupi area, there's a brinjal called mattu. So when we were kids, or even after that also, for a very long time, the average price of that particular brinjal was hardly around 25 to 30. After that, it may be around 40 rupees.
Session 4, themed on strategies for conservation of indigenous animal genetic resources. The session was chaired by Dr. R. Vinu sir and co-chaired by Dr. D.N. Das sir and Dr. H.K. Nagla sir. Rapporteurs of the session were Dr. K. Jagdishan and myself, Dr. Supriya. The session had one lead paper presentation on Nandi Krishi, harnessing domestic livestock diversity for restoring agroecology, functional productivity, biodiversity and climate resilience by Dr. Chandrasekhar M. Viradar, who briefed about the integrated farming and livestock in landscape for sustainable planet health. The session had received 23 abstracts, out of which 4 oral presentations turned up. The recommendations from this session were: first, integrated farming approach that is sustainable with economic benefits to the end users should be explored. Second, characterization of the Theni Malai Madu breed may be taken up with special reference to its disease resistance and medicinal properties of milk may be explored. Third, mechanism for certification of value-added products should be explored. Fourth, strategic cryobanking of the somatic cells may be taken up for all the breeds within the time frame. Thank you.
In molecular genetics for management of native animals. The session was chaired by Dr. Kumaswamy sir, and the co-chairpersons were the Dr. R.S. Kataria sir and Dr. Venkatachala Tirupati sir. The rapporteur was Dr. K. Jagadishan, so I am presenting the report on behalf of him. There were a total of 22 abstracts submitted for this session, out of which 16 were presented, and among the 16, the 8 were from the faculty and 8 were from the students. The recommendations are as follows. All the omics data generated for the given traits in the population should be integrated for further fruitful outcome leading to effective selection of the animals. Epigenomic works needs to be initiated in the livestock species to understand environmental and non-genetic factors to exploit the unique traits of indigenous livestock species. There is a need to utilize omic tools to explore the traits like adaptations, disease resistance and feed efficiency in indigenous population for their value addition and sustainable utilization. Genome editing as a tool to be utilized for faster genetic gain of the indigenous livestock population, and funding for much projects need to be encouraged in this aspect. Multi-omics tools should be used cautiously considering the number of biological replicates and number of samples to be included in the study for getting meaningful results. Thank you.
Here to present the report of technical session 1 oral. So in that session the chairman was Dr. Arjava Sharma, Harbour Director, and then co-chairman Dr. D. Kumar, Dr. Nandedkar. So, in this session, two lead papers were presented. Dr. R.K. Pundit, he presented the lead paper on genomic approaches for conservation of animal genetic resources. He presented the various latest and promising genomic approaches like genetic diversity assessment of the bull, development of validated unified genomic chip for cattle and buffaloes, which will be helpful in enhancing the livestock productivity in view of the future strategic targets. Then, Dr. Dinesh Kumar sir presented a lead paper on the global landscape of geographical indication law for domestic animals, status and challenges. He presented overview of existing GI laws and emphasized need for creation of GI-based database for animal breeds and the products. Out of total 21 abstracts received for the oral presentations, 14 authors presented their research work here, sir. All the abstracts were as per the theme of the session, and various papers consisted initial interesting and new phenotypic characterization approaches in view of the considering lesser known livestock breeds for their registration by NBJR kernel. The House suggested constructive additions, deletions in view of the making sound research output helpful for registration, followed by conservation of lesser known indigenous livestock breeds. The House recommended inclusions of larger sample size and then more observations in the existing studies and comparison of phenotypic performance values with other breeds for realistic conclusion in view of conservation of livestock breeds.
Veterinary and Animal Sciences University is here to present the report of technical session 3, Advances in Breeding, Nutrition and Management of Livestock for Improved Performance. The chairman was Dr. R.K. Pundit sir. The co-chairman were Dr. M.M. Apnavar sir and Dr. Nihar Sahu sir. There were 2 lead papers and 10 oral presentations in this session. The first lead paper was on meta-analysis in animal breeding by Dr. R. Venkatramanan sir, which suggests to use the meta-analysis for increasing the accuracy and save time. Meta-analysis is the efficient method of combining results from several studies. The second lead paper was on critical insight into advances in feeding management to improve livestock productivity in indigenous and low production crossbred animals by U. Krishnamurthy sir, retired head LPM department. Highlight the deficiency of balanced feed and suggest increasing the proportion of concentrate and dry matter to increase the productivity of these animals. The recommendations of the sessions are: 1. To use the meta-analysis in animal breeding. 2nd. To increase the proportion of concentrate and dry matter to increase the productivity of indigenous livestock. Then 3rd. To use advanced technologies in estimation of breeding value for higher productivity in livestock. Thank you.